Hi ladies and gents, my name is Tax Ombud and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about the refunds, tax refunds in relation to the tax ombud. The reason I'm talking about this is because there's been such a lot of complaints from people that saying that they're not getting the refunds and there are no verifications, everything is up to date, they're tax compliant, but still SARS is not releasing their refunds. Now, I know a lot of people don't know this, but in 2017, the tax ombud, if you didn't know, SARS has a tax ombud. In fact, not SARS, South Africa has a tax ombud where you go to complain if you're unsatisfied with the way SARS is handling a situation, or you just have any complaint that you have against an employee, or if something has happened and you think that you've been treated unfairly by SARS. And this is but obviously this, you only go to the tax ombud after you've exhausted all the processes that you can follow at SARS. In other words, you've complained through SARS, you've tried to get hold of them, and maybe you didn't get any joy from actually doing that. Now I'm just gonna, if you have a refund with SARS, or even if, well, you might have a refund in future, but if you have a refund with SARS and you've been struggling to get that refund and you just almost have given up on it, I would advise that you continue to listen. So, and I'm going to be very quick and short and straight to the point. So what normally happens is when you have a refund with SARS, you'll call them and you will obviously try by all means to actually get your refund from them. And this is one of the, when the tax ombud did a report, the tax ombud sort of did an audit of the complaints that all the complaints that they get. The tax ombud did a report in 2017 whereby they compiled all the complaints that they've gotten from the people pertaining to SARS. And in this report, one of the things that they detailed is all the delay tactics that SARS uses in order to hog or to keep people's refunds. And the nice thing about this report is that they say that if you found that actually SARS has used one of these delay tactics in order to keep your refund, then those are compelling circumstances for you to actually approach the ombud directly. Because remember earlier I said that if you have a query, if you have a problem, or if you're unhappy about something, you have to first exhaust all the SARS processes. But the ombud found that if you have a refund with SARS and SARS is refusing to give it to you, and it looks like there is no valid reason for them to, or SARS is using all the delay tactics that they have detailed in their report, then you have every right to approach them directly. Now, just to tell you a bit more about the ombud, I don't know when they started, but what I do know is that they're very efficient, guys. I'm telling you, I've dealt with them so many times and I've been thoroughly impressed with how they do things. So if you're gonna approach them, I just want to give you that confidence that they know what they're doing, and their team, they're very knowledgeable about tax, and they reply on time, and they're just amazing to work with, actually. I mean, they could teach a lot of the our government departments a thing or two about efficiency. They're very efficient. So I'm just saying, I'm telling you this, that even if maybe you want to complain or you're unsatisfied with SARS, do approach the ombud. Do approach them, and maybe at a later stage I'll even do a template of a letter that you can write to the ombud, just detailing how you can structure it and how it can be assisted. Now, back to refunds. I am going to read to you the delay tactics that the ombud detailed in their letter. And I'm reading this to you to know, so that if you in this situation, then the ombud is giving you the right to approach them directly without exhausting all the other processes that SARS has, because they found that these are delayed tactics, and some people need their refunds, especially now with how the economic climate is and with COVID-19 and everything else. It's very difficult for a lot of us, and if you have a refund sitting at SARS, then you must get it, right? So I'm going to read out these delayed tactics. One of them is that SARS may delay a refund by failing to link submitted documentation to that they've requested to the main file. And the second one is they can just place a stopper. This happens all the time. It's actually, I think this is the most popular. They just suddenly place a stopper into your account. A stopper is as sort of SARS, it's sort of something that SARS does in order to force you to go verify your banking details at the branch, which takes a lot, because I mean, after you've submitted your banking details, then it takes about another up to 21 days for them to actually verify them. So SARS will, like, you would have been using your account for years, and then all of a sudden it will have a stopper. In some situations, yes, you will find that the stopper is justified. Maybe they've picked up a risk or something into your account, but then in some, it's just not justified. Like, the person will tell you that there's nothing that has been abnormal in my account, but suddenly SARS has just put a stopper because now I have a refund. So they will put a stopper, an unwarranted stopper. And then sometimes they will use the filing of new returns to block refunds. So say, for instance, you have a refund that for 2018 that you should have received, and then SARS will not give you a refund until your 2019 is outstanding. And then they'll say that, but your 2019 is outstanding, whereas they had this whole time to actually refund you for 2018. And the reason they do this sometimes is because they're using the outstanding return. They will wait until the other return is outstanding, and then they will use that as an excuse to not pay your refund. And the Tax Ombud actually identified this as one of the delay tactics. And then a delay in lifting the stoppers and the lack of time frame in doing so. Sometimes we'll submit all the documents that are required to verify your banking details or else to remove the stopper, but then SARS will still not pay your refund. So, and then when you phone them, sometimes they will tell you that, I'm sorry, there's no time frame. Especially for previous years, they'll always tell you that, sorry, for previous years, we don't have a time frame. We're dealing with the current year now. I mean, and then another one is refunds for one period being withheld while an audit or verification is in progress for another period. So say, for instance, you have a refund for 2018, and then there's a verification of an audit for 2018. For 2019, SARS has no right to withhold your refund for 2018 if the verification is for another year entirely. So if the verification is for 2019, they need to release your refund for 2018, unless they can give you a reason that says that there is a link on the verification they're doing for 2019 that makes them not to be able to release your refund for 2018. So that's one of the things that the Tax Ombud identified, and I completely agree with them. And then using historic returns to delay the payment of refunds. Oh my gosh, this happened. I think it was this one of using historic reserve. Okay, first of all, I always tell this to my clients: if you started submitting income tax returns, don't stop. Whether you make the income, whether you're below or above the threshold, just continue submitting, continue submitting, continue submitting. Because what normally happens, and this happens so often, guys, you will not believe it. What normally happens is, say for instance, you submit 2017, 2018, and then in 2018, maybe you're unemployed and then you don't need to submit. In other words, you are below the threshold. And then in 2020, then you get a job and then you submit again. What normally happens is, especially if you have a refund, SARS will suddenly want the return for 2019, even though you were below the threshold, which is why I always tell people, once you start submitting your returns, continue doing so. Even if you're submitting a nil return, just continue, because for some odd reason, SARS, when you have a refund, all those returns that you never submitted, they will pop out of nowhere. But the Ombud actually identified this as one of their delay tactics. When you ask them, they always say the system. And I always say, just fix the system then, because the system is the problem, right? But anyway, the next one is raising assessments to clear unallocated credits. So, so say for instance, there's an unallocated credit, and then SARS will just, an unallocated credit is when you've paid money to the SARS, into your e-filing account, into your tax account, but then for some reason it's unallocated. Maybe you didn't indicate whether it's for provisional tax or pay as you earn, or if it's for VAT, or if it's for income tax. So then it becomes unallocated, and then you will find SARS raising assessments, not even understanding what the money was for to begin with. This happens, guys. And then requesting further information during an audit. So you'll find that sometimes you will do the verification or audit, and then and then SARS will pause for the longest time and not request information and nothing. And sometimes they'll even issue a finalization letter, and then boom, all of a sudden, when you demand your refund, SARS will request additional information. These things really do happen, guys, and it's crazy. Anyway, assessments successfully disputed, but refund still not paid. So say for instance you had a dispute, like you did an objection, and then SARS, the objection was then you actually were successful in your objection, and so now SARS for some reason owes you money. SARS will still not pay the refund, and you will have to follow up and call, and all these things cost money and time. But then for some reason SARS does this, and I'm so glad, because this one is also very it happens very often. And then raising assessments prematurely. Okay, this one is just hitting under the belt. Because I mean, sometimes you find that it's not even, I know this year SARS was raising assessments. That's how they decided to do things in order to actually with COVID-19. But then I mean, they in the previous years, the times whereby SARS will just raise assessments prematurely, simply because they just don't want to pay your refund. And then debt set off notwithstanding a request for suspension of payment. Oh, this is another one. Oh yeah, no, this is a huge one that they use all the time. So say for instance, right, you submitted your income tax return, and then you SARS maybe did not take into account some of your medical aid expenses, and then you did a dispute, and then oh, I forgot this in my dispute video, guys. Always do a suspension of payment. Yeah, always do a suspension of payment. Actually, don't know if I mentioned it or not, but anyway, SARS will okay, say for instance you've submitted that dispute, and then did a suspension of payment. So what normally happens is, if SARS, by raising an additional assessment, you then ended up owing them money, when you submit your dispute, be it an objection or an appeal, together with that dispute, you need to submit what you call a suspension of payment. In other words, you're saying to SARS, I am busy disputing this assessment. So while you are busy doing that, I ask that you don't collect your money, and you wait for the dispute to be completed. In other words, to be finalized before you start collecting money. And this is always in hopes that at the end, maybe SARS will be the one that will end up owing you, or at least then no one owes anyone. But then always make a dispute together with a suspension of payment. If you owe SARS because they've raised an assessment and you want to dispute it, always do a suspension of payment. Otherwise, if there's no suspension of payment, then SARS has the right to actually collect the money from you in whichever ways that they use to collect money. So always make sure that you do a suspension of payment. And I must tell you, in all the years that I've been practicing tax, I have seen 3 replies to suspension of payments, and I'm not even joking. I've done hundreds of suspension of payments, but I've only seen 3 replies. So you'll find that sometimes you'll do a suspension of payments and SARS will never reply to it. When that happens, harass them, ask them, I've sent my dispute with a suspension of payment. Did you receive it? Where's the response? Is my payment suspended? And all those things. So that when SARS starts sending you letters of demand to pay their account, you say that here is a suspension of payment, and here's the response saying that you actually are allowing the suspension of payment. Because sometimes, because they're saying that it's different departments, the collections department or the debt department, and then where they send the suspensions of payments and whatnot. So you find that you have a suspension of payment that has been allowed, but SARS is still harassing you to pay money. So you need to have your ducks in a row when you actually have a dispute with SARS. And then another one is verification assigned to the auditor but not realized within the prescribed time frame. Yeah, this is also another one. Hey, so what will happen is your verification will be assigned to an auditor at SARS, but then it will take forever. I'm actually gonna do a video about time frames at SARS and how it's according to SARS and according to the law, how long you should be waiting for certain things. For instance, how long you should be waiting for your refund, how long you should be waiting for your a response to your dispute, be it an appeal or an objection or a suspension of payment. I will do a video on that, so look out for that. But I mean, SARS does this sometimes. Your verification will be allocated to an auditor, but then they will take forever, guys. Sometimes it takes years. And when you follow up with them, they actually tell you that, oh, we'll send you what's outstanding, we'll send you what we require, and you're sitting and asking yourself, but it's been a year, how is it that you haven't sent anything? And I mean, it does happen. So those are all the delay tactics that the Tax Ombud found that SARS uses in order to withhold your refund. Now, if this is one of the delay tactics that SARS is using against you in order to keep your refund, then the Ombud said that these are compelling circumstances and you can approach the Ombud directly. And guys, I have told you already about their efficiency. If you I've had clients that have waited for years for their refund, and then I approach the Ombud, and then the next thing, boom, within a month or two, because the Ombud promises to acknowledge your, number one, to acknowledge your communication. They're good at that. They will respond and say that we received your communication and you are dealing with it. And within 14 days, they normally have a response with you, a response for you. So it is they are very, very efficient, guys. I mean, I can't emphasize this any better. And this is not a sponsored post. I'm not being paid by the Ombud to advertise them or anything, but I'm just telling you my experience with them. So if you're having issues with SARS and you think that you've reached a point where you just don't know how to resolve them, approach the Ombuds. Do approach the Ombuds, and their the website is taxombud.gov.za. So go through the website and see how they want the things are done and all of that, and also all the systemic all the systemic, yo guys, okay, let me read the word, all the systemic issues that they've identified will actually be found on their website as well. So go through them and see, and you'll see that they actually identify that things really that taxpayers deal with, and it's amazing that someone was actually so I would say accurate in actually identifying all of these. And so I just want to tell you this: if you have refund with SARS and you're struggling to get it, and SARS is using these delay tactics, then you have the right to approach the Ombud straight. You don't have to exhaust all the other processes that SARS has. And thank you guys for listening, and check out the rest of my channel, and also check out Tax Shelter on Facebook as well as Tax_Shelter on Instagram. Bye for now.